Good afternoon. This is the first time that I'm doing something after lunch and people are wide awake. You are a very good audience. For this presentation, I would like to give an update on what we have done in Namibia. The focus, we are going to focus on the two key areas that we have discussed when we started this in 2012. Namibia was to investigate its literary collection, published and unpublished, and start organizing the collection and make them accessible to the audience. The second task that we were supposed to do was to create a platform for Namibian authors to meet, discuss and showcase their literary work, as well as request writers to deposit their work and manuscripts with the National Library. So those two tasks, when we got them, I said, oh, this is very easy. No, this can be done without a problem. This morning, I have been listening to everybody talking, from the archives in danger to hidden archives. And I was thinking, that sounds like a case in Namibia. And it is good to know that, because then you know that you're in the right place with the right people who have the right, who have the same problems as you do. We are like minds. That is very good. By the time we went to Pavia, I said that Namibia was a baby that was just born, that was born in Reading. By the time we went to Pavia, that baby was wiggling a little bit and trying to get up. But now this baby is moving, it's crawling. And I'm sure by the time we go to the US, that baby is going to start walking and running. We are continuing to investigate our literary archives collection, which the majority are of German Namibian background. Like it was said this morning, we have a lot of historical literature that we are having, but we are also discovering that now we have others that are also coming, writers who are also coming. We have Germans, we have South Africans, we have also South Africans born Namibians and vice versa. And in this presentation, I'm also going to look at two notable Namibian writers and new literary archives that also has come up due to works that have cropped up, like diaries of parents, of great-grandparents that are now being published. The two Namibian writers, I don't know who's going to move that. Okay, keep on moving. I'm copying Danielle. Was it Danielle? Yeah, okay, that's one. The first writer that I want to discuss is a Namibian poet. His name is Mvula Yanangolo. He has written a lot of poetry. He went into exile a long time ago, and literally he grew up in exile. So most of his work, he went to, from Namibia, he went to Tanzania. He went to Angola, he went to Tanzania, and then he went to Angola. Then he went to the US and eventually married a British woman, stayed in England, and went back home. So you can just imagine if this person has published, his books has been published everywhere. Unfortunately for him, most of his work is self-publishing. So he has really struggled. He published most of his books by himself. And later on, you'll understand what is going on as far as our writers and literary writers are concerned in the country. There's a big struggle going on. There is a collection, this book here, It Is No More a Cry. It's a collection of Namibian poetry in exile that were written in exile. It's a whole collection. Unfortunately, when I was trying to find a copy of this book in the National Archives collection, I couldn't find a single copy. I don't know who has this copy. I went to the World Catalog. I couldn't find where this copy is deposited. I'm sure I'll keep on looking and eventually we'll find a copy somewhere. So those are some of the things. Now, if you cannot find a published book where it is, let alone trying to find the manuscripts of those books. When I was speaking, I met Mvula Yanangolo, who happens to be a friend of my father from exile also. When I was speaking to him, he said, I have my manuscript, but who's going to look for them? They are somewhere there in boxes. Some of them I have lost. Imagine the person has moved so many times to the point where he probably doesn't have the earliest version of his work. But he must have kept something. He said that he has some. He's going to look for it, or I could go to his house and help him look for it. So we'll see what is going to happen. But he was very promising. Then we have another famous South African-born Namibian. His name is Frederick Philander. He's a writer, journalist, and playwright. This is a man who has written books in both Afrikaans, which is, we call it a Gebasterde Dutch, and also in English. So he has written a lot of books. And most of his books are situations in South Africa, and he mixed it up with situations back in Namibia. He has lived in Namibia for a very long time. So you can see even the book called Prejudice. The map there is of Robben Island. But the content, you can easily think that it's either Namibia or South Africa. So he does things like that. And also what he has written there, The Railwayman, Koning van die Ashoop, is also a fiction that he wrote about his life. He grew up very poor, and the father used to work in the railway. And the story is more or less about his life and how he grew up in a fictionalized type of writing. I met him. He's a very good library user, so he comes to the library a lot. So we spoke, and he said that, he has his manuscripts, but he's not sure whether they are going to be safe in the National Library. But if we can guarantee him that they are going to be safe, he will think about it. And when Freddie says something like that, you have to make sure that you put your ideas in order and make sure that you put mechanism in order to secure his manuscript. Otherwise, he will sue you. So he's not somebody that you want to play around with unless you are sure. So we are also scared to get his manuscript until we have our house in order. Next one? Okay. There is something interesting happening, except for the historical literature that we are having in Namibia. We are also discovering that from the old diaries and records of the German Schutztruppe who went to Namibia way in the 1800s, these diaries are deposited with their children. They are now with their great-grandchildren. And the German community, for whatever reason, they have organized themselves very well. Germans are very good in keeping records, something that the rest of us are not in Namibia. Germans have kept records, and we keep on joking that it's because of the records that they have kept that now we are demanding reparation from them. If they didn't keep the records, we wouldn't know. So now these notes and diaries that they have kept, books are being published. This particular Bernard Gottfried Hubertus has left very good records. And we have just learned that a book was published. He published 2 books, and also a second edition. The first edition was published in 2007, and then a second edition was published in 2013. And there's also another one that he has published. Now, these documents, his manuscripts, have been acquired by a German Namibian called Bernd Kruner. Now, we found out this by mistake. He went to the National Library to get an ISBN number for a new book that he's busy with. And it is through the National Librarian that we found out that, there is this Mr. Kruner who came here to get an ISBN number. He told me that he's going to write another book on the life of another German person because he has just acquired the diaries of that from the family. So now that is now giving us an idea that, okay, so now through Mr. Kruner, we have to find out how many of those records, how many of those diaries is he having of the German Namibians who probably are now depositing this with him. Is he buying them or is he getting them for free? And this is now a project that we want to get into to see how many of those are out there and what his intention is with all these diaries and papers of families. Our second purpose was to organize, as you know, or as I have said earlier in my previous presentations, we have a community of people that are not really readers. Reading and writing for Namibians is a very slow coming type of genre. So if you are in a business of writing and if you are in a business of publishing, it's a very difficult business for you to be in when you are in Namibia. Not only because of the population, a lot of the South African publishers, they refuse to actually set up house in Namibia, like at a bigger scale, because the population is not there. If you are talking about 2 million people, that's a village in South Africa. But 2 million is the whole country. So where would they make more money if they have to publish something? They would rather go to South Africa where they can make more money. And these were some of the complaints that we were receiving from the writers when we organized the Writers' Workshop. So we organized the Writers' Workshop, December 5th, I think, December 5th last year, where the purpose of the workshop, but before I get to the purpose of the workshop, we figured that it's a small community. You can't just invite writers without inviting the publishers and also the booksellers and illustrators. We might as well just invite everybody who has something to do with books and just get to hear what they want to see from us and what they expect from the country. What we did was to invite them and explain to them the role of the National Library and what the National Library can do to advance their work. And we also wanted to find out from them what they expect from the National Library and what type of relationship they would like to have with the National Library. We also wanted to make sure that we create a database because, as we said, we are starting from the scratch. We are a baby crawling, rolling, and trying to walk. So we might as well start from the scratch. That way we have a database of whom we are dealing with. Since we have a lot of self-publishing writers whom we don't have a database of. We also, the purpose of this was also to request them, for those who are self-publishing and for those who have written some work, to deposit their work with the National Library, their manuscript with the National Library. And obviously, you have writers who, some of them were journalists, like Mr. Freddie Philander and others. So when we said that we were requesting them to deposit their manuscript, that started a riot almost. But after a rocky start, obviously, luckily we had a whole day to deal with this issue. In the first 2 hours, we were tussling and tossing and turning until we understood each other. From our perspective, we said that, we want to advance what you are doing. We want to be able to help you. We are your biggest buyer of your work, and we are your biggest advertising agency where you don't have to do anything. So we started negotiating with them. And eventually we understood that their frustrations was mostly they feel like they are in this field, but they are not getting support from the government, they are not getting support from the public, they are not getting support from anybody but themselves, which was understandable. Like I said, we have a community of people who are not really readers. And if you are writing books for people who are not readers, you will have a problem. So that we sorted that out by coming up with a few recommendations and resolutions of how we can carry this forward. Some of the recommendations from the Writers' Workshop were really expecting the National Library to basically do everything, which we felt that, okay, we don't want to start another riot in one day, so we might as well just see how we can help this situation by just, giving and taking. They wanted the National Library to organize the book discussions and create a platform for writers to cooperate with one another. Something that we thought that, okay, we can provide the venue, so it was a give and take situation. We said, okay, we don't necessarily have to be the organizers, but we can create the platform by giving the venue and making sure that, at the beginning we create that synergy by making sure that we sponsor the snacks and creating the venue, but they have to do the adverts themselves and invite the people themselves. So that was taken. The other one was National Library should create a database of Namibian writers, poets, and other related people, so that at least we can have some sort of database where they can tap into. That was already part of what we wanted to do, so that was accepted without a problem. The National Library should create a center for the book to promote writing in local languages. Now, this is a very big problem. We don't have a society of readers. We also don't have something in local languages. So if you don't have readers and you don't have something in local languages and demand is there, and the libraries are expected to provide this in local languages, the government is saying that from grade 1 to grade 4, a mother tongue should be the mode of learning, and then from grade 5 up, then you have to introduce English, and you don't have anything for people to read, and also you have new literates who must read, and you have nothing in their local language. So it becomes that type of thing. So this was really highly accepted, because then we can create that type of partnership where we have to produce, where we have to encourage them to write books in local languages, so that at least we can fill the gaps in various areas within the communities. Okay, organize the book fairs to promote the culture of reading, give writers a choice to promote their work. This we have co-organized with another group last year. So maybe this is something that we can do, because they felt that, at least there should be a highlight of what they are doing. Okay. Now, also the other thing, they said that have a book review committee comprising of language experts in order to have quality literary work, create proper writing standards. Now, this also was a big problem, not from our side and also not from their side. It's just that it's a common problem. When you have 13 different languages, and now you have to, English has been introduced as an official language 24 years ago in the country. People are still thinking in a lot of different languages, and you have now to officially now start communicating in English. You have seen my PowerPoint. I'm mixing up probably different languages there. So that is a problem, and that comes easily in writing. So we thought that it would be a good thing for us to standardize the English. In most cases, you have the American English plus the Afrikaans plus the German. So whatever word comes first, you just anglicize it and you make it an English word. So and then it goes, but we have to have a standard proper English words there. So we do it very Diermakar, like that. Okay. Writers' Workshop mentorship program should continue. Libraries should spearhead this. That was also one of the. There were a lot of recommendations, but the ones that I'm mentioning here are the ones that we thought these are possible things that we can start with, because with a lot of recommendations, you can't tackle everything. You have to be able to select what you can take. And throughout all these recommendations that I have mentioned here, we have decided that for 2014, we are going to tackle bullet 1, bullet 2, and bullet 3. Those are the ones that we are going to deal with, and then we can start prioritizing the rest of the other requirements. Now, I would say 8 hours later, everybody left the workshop happy, 100% happy. But before I get to the next slide where I can show you how happy we were at that workshop, there were a few challenges that we are facing. And this morning, people were talking about, Grenada spoke about staffing issues and various other things. We have a serious staffing issue. We have a staff shortage in the library field and also in the archives field. But unlike a lot of other places, financial is not one of our problems. Our main problem is not having professionals in the country. We have the budget, we have budgeted for the positions, but we can't get people to fill those positions. The salaries are not that bad. I'm already now recruiting people here. So the salaries are not that bad. They are not as good as the UK pound, because the pound is killing everybody. So, but at least in case somebody would like to go to Namibia and help us in the National Library and National Archives, we will negotiate your salary and get you to Namibia and see whether we can put you up somewhere, free accommodation. Now, to go back to, I don't know how, yeah. So now that was the workshop. Those were the people who attended the workshop. The 2 authors that I just showed you were also at the workshop. And that is me saying something. I don't know what I was saying. The next one, that is the youngest author. She has written a couple of poetry, and she wants to write. That's all she wants to do. Her mother is saying, at least finish high school. Then after that, you can do whatever you want to do. So there she was talking to us about the industry and how difficult she's finding getting her books published, and how she has now ventured into self-publishing and all that. So that is the rest of the crowd. There, in case somebody is wondering where Namibia is and how far I came, so that is where Namibia is. I deliberately cut out, tried to find something where the UK is not in the picture and where the Caribbean is not in the picture. That way you see how far I came without you approximating where you are. Now with that, thank you very much for affording me this time.